something that's talked about a lot, and I'm going to try to keep it short, and that's something called the poverty trap. The poverty trap is common, and it comes about because in high school, most people don't want to pursue school. They want to pursue a dream. And they say to themselves, no, I'm going to follow my dream because that's what TikTok has told me. And things like, if you don't follow your dream, your life will be this, and your life will be that, and your life will be this. So what do most people want and dream about? It's not to become a garbage man. It's not to become a high school teacher. It's to become a rapper or a athlete or a super celebrity, if Hollywood. But ask yourself, if that's your actual dream, why is it your dream? Because chances are it's to become rich and famous. Do you know what musicians do? Like ones who really love musician, they wake up, they pick up their instrument, and they play it all day long. And some of them never get past that stage. There are millions of people who try to be musicians, actors, rappers, whatever. And the people who do it for fame and fortune often don't succeed. Sure, there's a couple. There's a couple one-hit wonders too. But ultimately, even the one-hit wonders think they're going to be successful forever and lose all their money. So I would rather look at reality. And reality is this. Most people with no diploma, no high school diploma, end up earning $15 an hour for their entire lives. That's what the statistics say. Well, I'm not a statistic. Yeah, that's what statistics are. They're a look at everybody overall on average. That's exactly what statistics are. You are a statistic. We all are a statistic. And the statistics say that your chances of achieving a ridiculous dream with no skills and no diploma is almost zero. Do you know how many people become famous athletes? 1 out of about 10 million. Even ones who are incredibly talented get injured in high school and never make it to the pros. They end up being coaches or whatever because they love the game, but they don't get past that. So the statistics say that people with no high school diploma will never get a job higher than minimum wage or thereabouts. And some may enter very physical jobs for good pay, but they often get injured, which results in no pay and the poverty trap. So what is the poverty trap? The poverty trap is when you earn just enough to pay your bills. And so let's look at the cheapest way somebody can live. Renting a room, paying for your phone, paying for your internet, paying for your food, clothes, zero for heat because it's included in the room you're renting, transport. It's essentially like living at home, except that you're paying in somebody else's home. And the total comes per month to this. The hourly wage you're making, the money out of your hourly wage towards this needs to be $5 out of your salary, $5.50 an hour, leaving $11 from a minimum wage job. And actually, that's not quite true. Oh yeah, this is your minimum wage after tax, and that leaves $6 left over per hour. And you might say, and that means savings $1,000. You might say, well, that's great, but this is not really life. Nobody just rents phone, internet. Just this food represents $10 a day. Clothes $40. I doubt anyone can achieve that. Transport $150 if you're lucky, but most of us occasionally take an Uber. But what the truth is, you're probably going to double that food amount. And the truth is, you're probably going to go out to a bar or a movie or whatever once a week. And the truth is, you're going to hit some health issues where you have to get some medicine. And the truth is, you're going to do an Uber or do something else or do some other entertainment. And then there's always something called unexpected. Something always comes up. It doesn't matter. And if you break a leg, you're off work. You don't get sick leave with minimum wage jobs. Now all of a sudden, you've only got $3 left over and you're only saving $500 a month. And you might say, well, that's good enough. Can you last this your whole life? Can you work a minimum wage? Most people get tired of any job after 7 years. Do you really think you could work at McDonald's for your whole life and be happy with $500 saved a month? You actually think you could save $500 a month? Because here's the truth. When people have $500 in your pocket, you know what they tend to do? They tend to buy something. And in this scenario, you don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend, which costs more money to do things until you move in together. And you might say, yeah, but we're going to save money when we move in together. Yeah, what if you have a kid? Every cent you will make. A kid costs about $500,000 in their lifetime in food. So we're talking 2,000 or 1,000 extra for the kid. Suddenly, you're in a negative. You're losing money. How do you get that money? Who's going to help you? Relying on strangers. Relying on what? You know what the leading cause of failure in a relationship is? Money. So no matter what, even your best case scenario, you're barely saving any money, and the truth is most people don't save it. Now, if you are disciplined enough and you save this amount of money and you're going to make $6,000 a year, my strongest advice would be work for 1 year, take whatever money you save and put it into any kind of training or skill. A trade school costs about $15,000 for legitimate trade and training in something legitimate. So 2 years of doing this, you could do it. Now, what would I recommend to people who can still live at their parents' home? Approach your parents. Say, I'm going to live 1 year. I'm going to work a minimum wage job and save it all. And your parents might say, okay, if you do it, if you can prove you're saving, you can stay here. Let's say they make you pay for your own food. And let's say with that, you also enjoy some entertainment. So you go out a little bit. It's even a bit more than that because honestly, nobody's that frugal. Suddenly you're saving $1,600 a month. And if you look at that times the whole year, you've suddenly saved $20,000. That's enough to go to a trade school. It could be your parents are going to be happy about it, or really any school. Your parents are going to be happy about it. They're going to say, hey, okay, good for you. You've actually done what you said. Now, if you don't do what you say, then you're still in the poverty trap, aren't you? You're still in this cycle of not achieving anything. Let's go back. What's the next stage of poverty trap? Well, finish high school. And the nice benefit about finishing high school is you now can apply to city and government jobs that have benefits, dental, healthcare, other things. Not everybody is able to get into the city and government. Keep applying. It helps if you know people. Networking is huge. Networking is huge. If you were nice to everybody in high school, if you were the person everybody liked, that's good. Those people are going to be working in these areas where they can help you get a job. Not much better than no diploma. People with high school at least can apply to government jobs. Statistically, most people stay in the poverty trap even here. If you get a city job, probably not. City jobs pay up to about $30. You can probably do okay in life with a city job, as long as it has benefits and whatnot. But generally, we're talking people who are making 15 or 20. And you still might say, no, man, I'm the one musician who's going to make it. There are tons of talented musicians who never become successful or famous, who are better, actually, than famous musicians. A lot of famed people had connections, people they knew. You think the Kardashians were famous by natural talent? The Kardashians are famous because they were rich. They were already rich. They just used their rich status to portray a lifestyle that everybody wanted to watch to get more rich. Finally, what if you do get a bachelor's degree or basic trade? And by the way, let's go back to the chart of costs. Let's say you do get your own apartment. So let's say you share it with one friend. Now you're talking $900. There's $50. There's the internet. There's food. Now you've got clothes costs, heat costs. You've got transport costs, entertainment costs. And guess what? In this wage, you're using almost all of it. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So you got hourly salary needed. So you got to take the total of what's up above, of everything here. And then when you, oh, why is it not doing it there? It's not J. Let's B. Let's try B. Yeah, let's get rid of this. You got to do the sum of everything above. I'm sorry, I'm doing this on video. By the way, learning Excel sheet can get you a job. And then suddenly, if you look at that hourly salary needed for this, you would take this amount, which is a monthly cost, you times it 12, you divide it by 52, and you divide it by 40, and that means you got to come up with $12.75 to pay the above. Well, guess what? You're only making after tax $11.70, which means you're losing $182 a month. How do you get that? Who's going to help you? Clearly, you've got to be making more than minimum wage to pay for this scenario. So you can see even sharing an apartment with one other person in a big city like Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, especially cities like New York and whatever, forget it. You're going to end up living 2-3 hours out of town, 2 hours out of town, which means you're spending, or now let's say an hour at a time, you spend 2 hours commute just to get to work. That's 2 hours out of your life. That's 2 hours of unpaid, unproductive anything. Let's look about what it takes to get even further. This is where you, oh, that last one was low income shared apartment, so you're living in like a dump. This one is where you have your own apartment. That should say own apartment actually, because you're paying 1,300, and we all know that even at 1,300 for a single bedroom, you're not living in a great area. Here's all your costs. There's your monthly total. There's the hourly wage after tax needed to even just make ends meet. That's what you're making. You're losing that amount of money. So to even afford to live alone, you need an hourly wage of at least 20. So if you were making 20 at least, so most of it goes to the tax man. At least if you're getting 20 bucks an hour, this is what you clear after tax at a $20 salary. At least you're making that much per hour. And if you're totally frugal, if you don't even do any of these things, you can do okay. And to be honest, when people go up the ladder, they spend more. You're not going to spend 200 bucks on entertainment. That's 50 bucks a week. That means you never eat a lunch. That means you go out once a week, you spend 50 bucks at a bar. A lot of people can't even do that. Eating lunch every day alone. So if you eat lunch every day of the week for the whole month, you're spending 240 bucks on lunch alone. So it's not realistic. I just put these numbers in as bare minimum if you live like a monk. Gas, if you own a car, and this 400 bucks doesn't represent the car. It represents a lease, and by the way, when you take a loan on something, you're actually paying twice as much money for the actual item. And even if you bought the car outright and divide this by, the 2 years you get it, it's going to cost you 400 bucks a month. That's why I use 400 bucks a month. Insurance, things you don't realize. The unexpected is always the case. Startup costs. So to put furniture, kitchen items alone costs $1,000, $2,000 bucks to stock a kitchen. So initial cost I put is 200. In reality, it's much higher. You need to buy furniture, beds, shelves, rugs. Sometimes you got to get content insurance. Your landlord will insist on insurance for content. This insurance here is just a car. If you have to get content insurance for your items in your apartment, double that. So you can see your bottom goes down almost instantly. All I have to do is throw in a little extra cost here, and boom, I make nothing. If I have a regular health medical issue that I have to pay for, if I have asthma, if I need insulin, and by the way, in the States, insulin costs about $1,000 bucks a month. Boom. You know what the leading cause of, not leading cause, but what most bankruptcies in the U.S. are caused by? 25% of them. I think it's actually 35% now. Health issues. Bankruptcies. Health issues. That's all it takes to put the whole thing out of whack is a health issue. Okay, let's go back to this. So on the left, how do we get out of the poverty trap? This is the basics. You either get a basic trade skill or a bachelor. This will get you in the $20 to $35 range. And even it depends what bachelor you get. If you get a bachelor in sociology, you got to pound the pavement because everybody got a bachelor in sociology. So there's going to be 1,000 jobs, 100 jobs and 1,000 people applying for it. So the more specific your skill set, the better you will do. Yeah, I know not everybody wants to go to the math and sciences. There's other solutions. Trades, plumbing, electrical, carpentry. I know people who are handymen who do much better than most accountants, right? The problem with it is, be aware, people in physical jobs often get injured and can't do heavy labor after 10 years. So what do you do after 10 years? Do you have a 10-year plan? You obviously have to hire staff, young guns. You have to be prepared to manage them. There's a lot of headaches in hiring people. Can you imagine hiring 20-somethings and they show up hungover every day and you got to put them on a roof and hope they don't fall and hope you don't get sued? To succeed, or at least the basics, is $30 an hour. And as we saw, that's the very minimum. 20, that's pretty much break even. You're just going to be able to make ends meet with 20. So go for 30. That's the very best scenario. Let's go back to renting your own apartment. Let's rent a nicer apartment in downtown. We'll keep the phone, the internet, the clothes. We'll say we'll even make you a bit cheapy on the clothes. Oh, sorry, on the food. Your food, you're going to eat the way you want. Your clothes, you're going to stay cheap. There's your electrical, transport. Let's get rid of that because we're going to buy a car. We're going to up our entertainment costs. We're going to have our initial costs of the apartment a little bit higher. We're going to buy a nicer car. And we're going to have the gas. We're going to travel more. We're going to have insurance still the same. Unexpected, 200. Somewhere we got that. And you can see now if I switch this to $30, we can afford that lifestyle, and we even can save $1,000 a month. Did you know what happens if you save $822 and you put in a 7% investment? By the way, a 7% investment is quite possible. After 30 years, if you're able to save that every month, after 30 years, you'll have about $700,000 saved. After about 40 years, you'll have about $1.3 million saved. After about 50 years, you'll have about $2.6 million saved. And you can see it grows much faster in the end. And you might say, well, how come most people don't do that? And I'll tell you right here in one word: family, kids, incredibly expensive. I spelled incredibly wrong. Expensive. That means all this extra money here that goes towards your kid. And let's face it, most people want a family. Most people want kids. Most people want that. That's really why most people work. Yeah, you start off with your dreams of becoming a superstar, but most people, if you look around you, how many superstars do you see compared to Joe Normal? Most people are Joe Normal, and you can see this lifestyle. If you don't have kids, $30 an hour. If you do have kids, we're talking to save money, $40 an hour. But if you don't have kids, this is a good lifestyle. You can travel. Just be aware, all costs go up, and wages don't go up as fast as costs. So back to the poverty trap. How do I get there? Go for trade. Go for skill. Work with someone who knows what they're doing. If you've got the knack in sales, go for sales. But I've met a lot of salesmen, and only 5% of salesmen succeed. 5% of salesmen are making 90% of the profit because they have the knack, the skill, the network, the fortitude, the drive. They work all day long, including weekends. They're not normal workers. They're driven. And if you're driven, you can achieve anything. You don't need any of this. If you're driven, if you are a driven person, if you get up at 6 a.m. and work till sunset, you're going to make it. Because drive is worth more than anything else. But let's get into this area: highly trained trade, advanced technical skills. The reason the math, sciences, engineering, computers is pushed is because it leads to a $40 salary minimum. As you get experience, it goes up to 60 and 70. My brother's a professor. He's making around 120 an hour. As a lawyer, lawyers make anywhere from 100 to 200 to 300 an hour. But beware, lawyer is incredibly competitive. So it's almost certain to get a job. There are other methods, starting your own business. However, most people who lack the discipline to go to school lack the discipline to start their own business. Say that again for me. Most people who lack the discipline to go to school lack the discipline to start their own business. Makes sense. You don't wake up with drive. You build drive, one handful of dirt at a time. And that is what really school teaches you: how to make deadlines and plan effectively, and to build a mountain one handful of dirt at a time. Oh, one other thing about the poverty trap. Credit card companies love the poverty trap. Once you have an 18% debt compounded monthly, there's almost no chance you can repay it. However, you will end up paying much more over time because the alternative, bad credit, results in not being able to rent things or borrow money for cars, car loans, or buy a house. Credit cards love the poverty trap. A $1,000 loan paid back $50 a month takes 2 years to repay, and you end up paying $200 more than you borrowed. A $1,000 loan paid $20 a month will take you 7 years and 9 months to repay and cost you $900 more than the amount you borrowed. A $1,000 loan left unpaid for 2 years will cost you $1,430, or roughly if you make min payments. And most importantly, a $1,000 credit card debt where you pay back minimum payment is never paid back. That's why they love to put that minimum payment back. They know that you failed math class, and you don't know that by making the min payment back, you will never ever pay that debt. And that's what this chart was all about. This is paying back the minimum on a $1,000 debt. Look at that $1,000 debt. It's growing. It's not shrinking. It's growing. So after 2, 3, 4 years, it's more, and you're still making the min payment. They love that. You cannot enter the poverty trap, avoid loans of all kind, avoid car leases, avoid borrowing money, except for one important thing: education. And on top of that, the right education. Good luck. The poverty trap gets everybody, most everybody.